In 1966, Dubai found oil, not a lot of it, compared to its neighbor Abu Dhabi, which was sitting on nearly 100 billion barrels of reserves. Dubai's find was modest. A side notes in the regional story. But the ruler at the time, Sheikh Rashid, did something almost nobody else in the region did. He looked at the oil money coming in and treated it like it was already running out. He didn't build palaces with it, he built a port, a dry dock, an airport, trade infrastructure in a place with barely enough oil to last a generation. At the time, that looked almost paranoid. In hindsight, it was the only rational move on the table. Here's why this matters right now in 2026. The world is trying to quit oil. Slowly, messily, but it's happening. Every Gulf economy that built its identity on crude is staring at the same countdown clock. Saudi Arabia is pouring hundreds of billions into NEOM. Qatar is stacking sovereign wealth. Everyone is racing to answer the same question. What do you become when the thing that made you rich stops being valuable? Dubai already answered that question decades ago, and the way it did it is the actual story here, not the oil. So let's break down what it built. Long before the towers, Dubai positioned itself as the connector between East and West. Jebel Ali Port, free zones where foreign companies could operate without a local partner, keep their profits, pay no tax. That single policy move pulled in thousands of companies that had nothing to do with oil at all. Dubai built an airline, Emirates, from almost nothing and used it to physically pull the rest of the world through its city. Today, Dubai's airport handles over 95 million passengers a year. It's one of the busiest airports on Earth, not because people want to live there, because they must pass through it. This is the part everyone photographs, the Burj Al Arab, Palm Jumeirah, the Burj Khalifa, but underneath the spectacle is a financial mechanism that's easy to miss. Here's the part nobody puts in the brochure. Dubai doesn't really make money by selling things to tourists. It makes money by selling Dubai itself as an asset to the entire world. In 1998, the government let foreigners buy 99-year leases on property. That one rule turned the city into a parking lot for global capital. Russians during sanctions, Indians during rupee instability, wealthy buyers from anywhere, looking for a place to park money that nobody could easily touch. That's the hidden mechanism. Dubai's skyline isn't a monument to oil wealth, it's a monument to capital flight. Every tower is partly a tax-free, low-questions-asked storage unit for money that didn't feel safe somewhere else. And here's where it gets genuinely strange. The same openness that built the skyline almost destroyed it. In 2008, the global financial crisis hit, real estate prices collapsed, and Dubai's debt blew past its entire GDP. By 2019, Dubai's debt exceeded 100% of its GDP. Abu Dhabi, the oil-rich neighbor Dubai had quietly been competing with for decades, had to step in with a $20 billion bailout just to keep it standing. Read that again? The city famous for having moved beyond oil had to be rescued with oil money from the oil state next door. That's the irony sitting underneath the postcard. Dubai's entire pitch is independence from oil. But its safety net, the thing that caught it when the bet went wrong, was oil all along. So let's separate the hype from reality, because right now they look almost identical from the outside. The hype: Dubai is the city of the future, a glittering proof that you can outbuild your way past resource dependence. Look at the malls, the man-made archipelago shaped like the world. Look at how non-oil sectors now drive most of the local economy. The reality is messier. In 2025, the UAE's economy grew over 6%. Almost entirely driven by non-oil sectors like trade, finance, and construction. That part of the hype is true, but zooms out to the country level and oil and gas still make up roughly 30% of UAE GDP, and the government still leans on energy revenue to fund the very diversification projects that are supposed to replace it. In other words, Dubai isn't oil-free. Dubai is oil-funded diversification wearing a very expensive disguise. And the disguise has a cost. Building a global city from scratch in the desert means importing almost everyone who lives there. More than 90% of Dubai's population are foreigners. The workers who poured the concrete for the Burj Khalifa, the bankers who run the financial center, the service staff in every hotel along the coast, almost none of them are Emirati. Dubai built a permanent population of temporary people. A city that runs on residents who, structurally, are never quite meant to stay. That's the part rarely said out loud. The model only works if most of the people inside it remain replaceable. Now zooms out further because the real risk isn't history, it's what's happening right now. In 2026, the region got a brutal reminder of how fragile this all is. Conflict in the Middle East disrupted flights through Dubai. Gold shipments were thrown into chaos and prices swung violently in markets that depend on Dubai's trade routes. Drone strikes hit oil infrastructure nearby. A city built on being the world's connector point discovered, again, how exposed that makes you when the region around you destabilizes. This is the trade Dubai actually made. It swapped dependency on one commodity, oil, for dependency on something arguably more fragile, global confidence. Tourism collapses the moment people feel unsafe. Capital flows out the moment a safer harbor appears somewhere else. Real estate, the backbone of the whole non-oil story, is only worth what someone is willing to pay for during the next moment of global panic. Oil, for all its problems, sits on the ground and waits. Confidence doesn't wait for anyone. So here's where this leaves us. Dubai is the closest thing the world has to proof that a country can outgrow its resources. It took a small oil search, used the money wisely while it still had it, and built something that on paper doesn't need oil anymore. But look closer and the foundation underneath the foundation is still oil. Oil money built the first port. Oil wealth from a neighbor saved it from collapse in 2008. And the entire region's stability, the thing every tourist and investor and shipping company is quietly betting on, still runs through a part of the world defined by oil politics. Dubai didn't escape oil. It used oil's last window of relevance to build something that looked like it escaped oil. Which raises the actual question worth sitting with. If the city built to prove you can outrun a resource curse still depends, indirectly, on the very thing it claims to have outrun, what happens to every other country trying to copy the model without an oil-rich neighbor standing by to catch them.